Our journey will have trials, it will have tribulation, it will have tests along the way. There's no way to get around that, but it is our reaction to those things that are presented to us that make the difference in our walk. We're going to come to a Torah portion of Shlach Lecha this week, or Send on Your Behalf. Not a real great translation there. I'll get to that in just a moment. You may recognize one of the words, Lecha, and it is going back to the Torah portion of Avraham, Lech Lecha, which is, it's translated as, it should be translated, go to yourself. Find yourself. You're going to, your destination is about you finding who you are. And so this Torah portion is very similar to that, of sending these 12 so-called spies. I'll talk about that word again in just a moment. Sending these 12 men into the land of Israel so they could literally find their destination and walk toward it. So with that, let's look at two of the words. First of all, the word that is translated send is Shin, Lamed, and Hey. Shin, Lamed, Hey. You should have, by now, you should have printed off and have somewhere, if you have not memorized, and I haven't, all of the Hebrew letters and their Paleo-Hebrew meaning, their pictogram meanings. If you haven't done that, I suggest you go. It's all over the internet. I mean, it's very simple to find that. Print it off, and maybe you want to do what I've done, is tape it in the back of your Bible as a bit of a cheat sheet. So Shin is, of course, the letter which is the teeth to consume, but it's also a fingerprint. And when we go to Israel, we see the fingerprint of Yah that's in the city of Jerusalem. So it's about a fingerprint, or El Shaddai, the Almighty One, the all-providing one. Lamed is the letter of the king. It's the highest of the letters in the Hebrew Aleph Bet. And the letter Hey, which is the breath. So what do we get out of this? Send on your behalf is to send men who will find and in the land, that they will see in the land the fingerprint and the breath of the king. And they will be, as they go, they're going to be, the word is tur, which is a tav, a vav, and a resh. The word tur, okay? They're going as translated as spies, but tur is, I mean, it doesn't actually translate this from Hebrew to English, but it's an interesting word play that many people go to Israel as tourists. Well, you know, I mean, these guys would go into the land of Canaan at that day. What are they told to do? They're told to walk the land. They're told to look around. They're told to bring back some things like souvenirs, okay? So they are actually the first recorded tourists in the land of Israel. And the word here is, of course, the tav is the connector. It's the letter which we would look at for the covenant. So something about covenant. Vav is a connector, and the resh is the head. So what do we see here in just the title of this Torah portion is that I want to send men, you're going to send men into the land of Canaan who are going to look to be connected with the head by finding the fingerprint and breath of the king that resides in the land. Okay, that's a lot to bring out from this word of send on your behalf, these words. So what happens? We read this, send on your behalf, And of course, the discussion has been through the centuries. Whose idea was this? Was it Moshe's idea? Was it the idea of Yah? Was it the idea of the people? We really don't see it clearly in this Torah portion, but we will in the book of Devarim. When we get there, I'll talk about this a little bit more. It appears, and not to point, judgmental fingers at Moshe, I kind of be the last one that wanted to do that. But what it appears to be is that the people came to Moshe questions. What about this land? You've told us about it. We don't really know. There's no tourist maps here. At the rest areas, they're all sold out. We want to know a little bit more about this land before we actually go in. And so it appears that Moshe may have succumbed to those discussions. It's okay. Well, we'll send some people into the land to spy it out, bring you back some maps of the land and some souvenirs, and then we'll all make the decision to go in. That's what it appears. All right. So he sends 12, one from each of the tribes. He sends what is said to be a leader from his tribe. Yes. We could say, knowing the end of the story here, that these are 12 leaders. The problem is that 10 of the so-called leaders want to lead them the wrong direction. Okay? So you have 10 leaders that are wanting to lead you back to where you came from, and 2 leaders that are wanting to lead you forward into where you're destined to go. I would dare say that is happening before us today at a level that is far greater than any of us could have ever imagined a few years ago. This is not an anti-church statement. I'm going to get into this, get out real fast. This is not an anti-Christian, anti-Constantinian Christian, whatever you want to call it. This is not an anti-anything message here of what I'm about to say, but there is a movement within this Hebrew roots Messianic walk to let's just go back to where it was. All right? In choosing your leader, make sure that the destination they have in mind is the destination you want to go to. If you want to go back, find somebody that's willing to take you back. But don't expect me to go with you. All right? Because I know where I'm going. I'm going forward. That's my decision in life. That's why Israel, you hear me talk about Israel so much, because I understand that to be my destination. And God willing, nothing in this life is going to take me away from the focus of that destination. In choosing your leaders, make sure your leader is leading you in the right direction. These men are to go into the land, and they are to see. The word we're in chapter 13 still, verse 18, and see what the land is like. The word, of course, is the word Reh, R-E-E-H, and this is a word that is not about only seeing with your natural eyes, but it would be best translated perceive. So look into the aspects of the land and perceive the land for what it is. One of the clues that we'll find of this direction that they are to take is this, that they are to see whether the land is fertile or unproductive, and whether there is wood in it or not. The word wood there is the word etz, or what we would see as fine. Let me just translate like this. And whether there is a tree in it or not. A tree. Etz. What tree are they looking for? Is there something of a tree or a remnant of a tree that they are to see, they are to perceive in the land. The number one tree that comes to my mind is the tree of life. It may be a clue given to us in verse 22. It says they went up into the Negev and arrived at a place called Hebron. Now, what is in Hebron? The cave of Machpelah. Today, this is a very small, about 700, I think, Jews surrounded by multiplied and multiplying thousands of Arabs who wake up every morning with basically, one thought in mind is we need to kill those Jews that are in Hebron. I've been there. It's most of the time a very dangerous place to go to. I've been there with gunfire that you could hear. I've been there during times of terrorist activity, but I've also been there. I was there one time, which made a great impact on my life. A time that it was relative peace. I was over with Hayavel. I think it was probably 2012 or 13, and we went to Hebron. We were able to actually fairly freely walk around in the city of Hebron, and we went to a place there. We were heading up to the hilltop, which is where one of the Rosh Chodesh, the new moon fires, was being lit in the day, in which that was the way of signaling when the new moon was. Of course, for me, that was kind of a very momentous moment of being there at that place, since I've spoken on the new moon so many times. But on the way, we walked by the ruins of a city wall that has been uncovered at Hebron. They have not done much excavation because of all the terrorist activity in the area, but there's a very small portion of that wall that has been uncovered, stating, and they say that this wall goes back to the time of the 12 spies. So literally Joshua and Caleb would have seen that section of the wall. They would have been able to go to what is today the Cave of Machpelah, and that day looked a whole lot different than it does today with the buildings on top of it. But what is the point of it? They went to Hebron because it had been passed down through the ages that this is where the patriarchs of Abraham, of Isaac, of Yaakov had been buried. And the reason that they had been buried there is tradition says that this is where Adam and Hava had been buried. Where? It is, again, tradition that this is the buried entrance to the Garden of Eden. I don't know if the tradition holds or not, but it goes along with the narrative of this, of go into this land and find a tree, or find the remnants of a tree, or find that which was brought forth from a tree, which is a family, which is now called Israel. I hope you get the connections there. So we see that they are going to be, they're going to come back from the land. They return from spying out. They've got their fruit. They've got their souvenirs to bring back, and it's some pretty good souvenirs. And this is where it all kind of falls apart, because the majority is going to end up defining the destination for the people. That's any time that you follow the crowd, don't expect to get to the right destination. The crowd will put you in a place of wilderness. It will not get you to where you were supposed to go. I could go to a lot of places right there, couldn't I? So they were in the land for 40 days. of course, the number 40 is the number of testing and trials. So they were in the land as tourists to look over the land. They thought that they were testing the land, but in actuality, the land was testing them. And 10 of them would fail the test miserably. And because of that, the complete family of the Hebrews, except for Joshua and Caleb, would end up being in the wilderness for 40 years. Generations would die in the wilderness. Generations would never see their destiny because of the mistakes made by so-called leaders that wanted to take them in the wrong direction. I was on Hebrew Nation radio last week. You can go back and listen to this, the Three Wise Guys program. I was talking to Roland and Tuck about the tragedy of the wilderness. Because in the wilderness you have the scattered bones of those who came out of Egypt, destined to enter into the land of Canaan, the land of Israel. There was not a single person that came out of Mitzrayim that was not destined to place their feet in the land of Canaan. But because of wrong decisions, all of those people would die in the wilderness. The tragedy is not only their death, the tragedy is the potential. See, the wilderness, the 40 years of the wilderness, would have the bones of potential that would have died in the wilderness, having never seen the destination that they were to go to. Let us not make the same mistake that they did. Now, as these 10 were, and I at this point hesitate to call them leaders because I do not believe that a leader is actually one that takes you back where you came from, but is someone who pushes you ahead. I talked last week about Moshe and the aspects of leadership. Let me just say something briefly about this because I've got a lot to do here. But if the person that you are looking to lead you is not stretching you, is not at times providing correction to you, is not challenging you to become more than what you thought that you could be, you need to find somebody else to call a leader. You need to find someone else to follow in this life. A leader that makes you comfortable will never take you anywhere. A leader that makes you, a quote unquote leader that makes you comfortable will leave your bones in the desert right next to theirs. That's something to think about. Caleb, it says, silenced the people around Moshe and said, probably with compassion, this was not a Mr. Milquetoast kind of statement, but he was probably standing there with a righteous indignation, almost on the edge, if not over the edge of an anger that is welling up inside of him. He has seen. He has seen, and I think that possibly this, and this is again speculation, but when they went to Hebron, when Joshua and Caleb saw the wall, they saw the cave. Something down inside of that land reached up and grabbed them, because their inward man was seeking their destination. The problem that, to go back just a little bit, the 10 walked into the land not really wanting to be there. The 10 walked into the land wanting to go back to exile. Entering into the land didn't mean anything to them. And so when they came to a place of connecting with the land did not connect with them. There are many people that go to Israel today, and they go just simply as a tourist. I can't wait to get out of here. Take me back to my leeks and garlic and Egg McMuffins. I'm tired of eating this stuff that's here. I'm tired of eating the prophecy of the land. I'm tired of all this. Take me back to exile. And because of that, they leave the land empty. Because the land, they never gave the invitation for the land to reach up and grab them, to connect with them. I'll just leave it like that. Those of you that have been there, that have connected, you've felt that moment in which the land reached up and grabbed you. You understand what I'm talking about. So Joshua, or Caleb, speaks up and he says, we ought to go up immediately and take possession of it. There's no question that we can conquer it. It was a statement in my mind that stunned people. They had been drawn into the conversation with these other men. But then this statement came forth with the authority from on high. What did they do with that? It says, but the men who had gone with him said, we can't attack those people because they are stronger than we are. Now, there's a different translation here, one that I think makes a lot more sense. It goes along with it. Because it says, it would say it this way, we can't attack those people because they are stronger than he is. They had a wrong image of who he was. With all that had happened in their lives. I mean, consider, these people are not that far removed. I mean, we're talking about, just a couple of months' time removed from Mitzrayim, from the plagues, from the water splitting, walking through on dry land, the water coming back together. They've seen manna. They've got a water supply. They've been to Mount Sinai. They've seen the voice. They've seen the sound of a shofar sounding on the mountain. They've gone through the golden calf thing, and they want to come to this place and say, well, these men are a little stronger than he is, and so since they're stronger than he is, they're stronger than we are. It's to me, it's miraculous that lightning did not come from the heavens and strike them. The same as there's been times in my life that I'm kind of at the end of it surprised that lightning didn't come from the heavens and strike me, for, we've all had those days of unbelief. What's the problem here? Is that they were afraid of their future because they had no faith in their present. I want you to get this. I want you to think this through. Write it down. Put it on your bathroom mirror. Write it over your glasses backwards. Whatever you got to do with this. Get this statement into you today. Not because I'm saying it, but because it's an important statement. Fear of their future. Fear of your future has no control over a person who has faith in their present. Why is this so important? Because we have all of the so-called conspiracy things that are going on today. Now, I understand the news. I follow the news pretty well. That which was a few months ago conspiracy is now a plausible explanation. I got it, There's a day that the crazies will be the sane, and those that, those that are thought to be crazy will be those that are proven to be sane. Those that were thought to be sane will be proven to be crazy. I got that, okay? But with that being said, if you think that we have had through these past years, specifically the past year or so, conspiracies, you ain't seen nothing yet. We're still in the kindergarten area of conspiracies and crazy things that you're going to see reported all over the place. Mark my words. But if you don't have faith in the one who has today, you will walk in fear from this point on of everything that you see about your future. See, I got it. I watch, I see, I can quote a lot of these conspiracy theories that are out there. But I don't want them to affect my faith today. And the reason that they don't affect my faith today is because I have faith in today. I have faith in the one who has given me today. That's a blessing. It's a gift. I understand that. I understand that that many people were not raised with faith. You're raised with anything but faith. And that's why over this shoulder here is a woman that I called Granny, who growing up, as I was growing up, she taught me faith. She taught me, the words still in my head, honey child, the good Lord will provide. I was blessed when I came to Messiah back in the mid-1980s to be that my best friend was this man over here called John Faust, a man that taught me faith. I'm sitting, I just kind of noticed that. I've never noticed that behind me here. But there's a reason why those two pictures are there. I don't have a fear of what's in the future because I have a faith of who's in the present. Get that. Figure that out. And don't allow the fear of things that are coming to affect you not reaching your destination. Because of these people, these 10 who are afraid of the future. The reason they were afraid of the future is because they had never come to the place of having faith in the present. They had not had come to a place of having faith in the one who had given them the miraculous to get them to where they were that day. May we not make the same mistakes. Now, as we continue in this Torah portion, we see that this is the consequences of the decision that they made to follow the 10 instead of the 2. But the question that has to be raised, going back a few days really in their life, what about the golden calf? Okay, Moshe goes up to the top of the mountain. He receives the 10 words. He comes back down to the base of the mountain, and the people have given their gold to Aaron, who's thrown them into a fire, and hey, out popped the golden calf. Really, Aaron? And they're looking at this golden calf and saying, that is Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. It's not that they were saying that that's a different Elohim, a different God, but they were looking at that calf and they had given it the title of that golden calf, that image, that molten image of that of gold. That is who brought us out of Mitzrayim and to this mountain. They were associating the name with a wrong image. In my estimation, I mean, if I were he, and thank he I'm not, that would have been the time that I said, no, you guys you're all, no, you're not going in. Moshe, quit your pleading, quit your praying, don't talk to me, let's just kill them all. That's the way the scenario would have been if I was he, and again, thank he that I am not. But here we have a group of people that come out of Canaan, and they are saying we can't go in because the people that are there are stronger than us and stronger than him. What is this an attack on? The golden calf was an attack on his image. The 10 spies were an attack on his character. Concept. He is more interested in his character than his image. He is, and I know that I'm kind of speaking something that I'm out on the edge here, because anytime that I'm trying to explain who the Almighty is, there's just a little bit of a gap in my understanding here between me and him. So I'm on the edge of something that is at times a little fearful to speak on, because I don't want to be caught speaking for him. But it appears through this that he's more interested in his character than in his image. That he will allow his image to be modified at times a bit. He will allow his image to be counterfeited and good old Southern term, messed with. Okay, that's about the best way I can put it. But when it comes to his word, when it comes to his character, he's very serious about that. I think that most of us would be able to understand that just in our own daily life. I mean, somebody may call you by the wrong name. It's like, whatever, I can deal with that. We'll get through that. And, or they'll confuse you with someone else. I've had that happen. Well, you look just like someone else. I'm sorry. Sorry for them, sorry for me, I don't know. But, they'll confuse you. Oh, I thought you were so-and-so, and you're not. You're actually this person. They thought you were somebody else. Those things can all be straightened out. But the one thing, and I guess I owe that to my grandmother, the one thing that, for me personally, I'll give you a little insight into Mike Clayton. Never question my character. You can question about anything about me that you want. You can question my teaching. You can question the appearance. You can question why I have something behind me in my office. You can question why I drive the truck that I don't care. Don't question my character. Never question my word. That is a place that I do not allow anyone to go. I may sound a little serious right now. I am. And I believe that he is the same serious. It's not good English, is it? But my English is not too good sometimes because I speak Southern, but that's okay. When we question his promises to us, when we say, I'm afraid of my future, what are we saying? I'm questioning your word in my present that's trying to lead me to my future. Hope that sinks in a bit. Now, I want to go all the way over. I know I'm having to skip, but I want to leave some time here at the end. First of all, in verse 13, once again, for this community, there will be the same law for you, for the foreigner living with you. It's a permanent regulation for all the generations. The foreigner is to be treated the same way before Hashem as yourselves. The same Torah and standard of judgment will apply both to you and the foreigner living among you. I have a question for organizations and those that are out there. I have a question for Rabbinic Judaism. What part of these verses do you not understand? Okay, I mean, I'm just asking. What part of, am I missing something? Did I not go back and look at the Hebrew well enough that I've gotten some kind of a crazy translation that same law, same Torah doesn't actually mean same Torah? Explain that to me, or not, because I don't think there is an explanation except for you got a little bit of arrogance and probably need to get over that. Okay, so I'll move on from there. In verse 32, there was, when the people of Israel were in the desert, they found a man gathering wood on Shabbat. Why is it that this man is judged so harshly? And why is it in this Torah portion? Okay, why is it in this Torah portion this is? Because, once again, it goes back to trust. He's gathering wood, and I haven't really gotten to this one yet of the where the Hebrew is here, but what I am told is that the language in Hebrew is that it wasn't just a one-time experience, that he had been constantly caught doing the same thing. He had been counseled about this on the Shabbat and continued to do it. See, there is the sanctity, the set-apart nature of Shabbat. There are many today in this walk that, listen, we're in exile. Okay, I got it. We're in exile. Look out the window. We're in exile. This is the diaspora, and it's difficult. And sometimes you have to bend some things, but it is about a consistent walk toward, a consistent desire to honor the day that he has set apart. This is a man that was showing no regard for the Shabbat. Instead of preparing for the Shabbat on Friday, on the sixth day, he had said, oh, well, whatever, I'll just take care of everything on Shabbat. Be careful. Be careful as we walk toward our destination, that the closer we get, the more black and white things may be. And this thing of continuing just to say, well, what was he doing? It's about trust. It's an issue called trust. He was saying, well, I know that he said that we'll have manna on the 6 days, on 6 days, but I just don't know that we're going to have enough. So I'm going to go out and who knows what he's doing. He's got manna there. He could have gone out the day before and gotten his wood to kindle the fire. He could have already had things prepared, but he didn't, because his purposes, his agenda was greater than the agenda of the Almighty. But it's through there that we get this that we get these scriptures of speak to the people of Israel, instructing them to make through their generations zitziot on the corners of their garment, and to put with the zitziot or the zitzit on each corner a techelet or blue thread. Now, I understand that in that day everyone wore a robe. They were wearing dresses, but everyone wore a robe. And according to what I've been able to find, different tribes of people would have different distinctions. Same as we would have a flag or a pin or something. Each of the tribes had a banner. And so what the Almighty did was he said, you are to put a blue thread on the corners of your garment. Now, I don't wear a robe like that. I know that there's people that have the talit katan and all of these things. But how you do this is where the Torah is, a living document for us. How you walk in a commandment may differ from someone else. I don't personally like the talit katan, the t-shirt thing. I find it very uncomfortable. To wear a talit around all of the time is just not a practical thing. Okay, so over the years, many of us have come up with this belt loop thing that we've got going on. And so to me, it's the essence of it is to put a blue thread on the four corners of your garment. I was in Israel speaking to a friend of mine, and he said, but your pants don't have four corners. I said, yeah, but the scripture talks about the four corners of the earth, and the last time I checked, it's still round. Sorry, those of you that would disagree with me, but I still believe it's round, but it says it has four corners. And he said, okay, I got it. Never mind. All right. Let's don't get caught up in the methods and lose sight of the meaning. And I want to go back to a teaching that I've done now for well over 20 years, and it's about the zitzit. Okay, this is one last time I was in Israel. Last time I was in Israel. I was with Yuval at one of his shops on Ben Yehuda Street, and I said, I want one of the larger sets. Well, he took me at my word, okay? I've never worn these because these are like, over the top for me. But it's easier to teach on. There are many ways to tie the zitzit today, okay? Again, let's don't get caught up in the method and lose sight of the meaning. So if you have a different way of tying the zitzit than I do, it's okay. Go for it, as long as you understand the meaning of what you're doing, okay? If you're just putting them on your belt loops or whatever because you like the way they look, but you can't give an account for why you're wearing them or what they mean, then take them off until you can. So, with that being said, let's go through the typical winding of the zitzit that I have, which is consisting of 4 threads, which actually looks like 8 threads. We have 3 of these would be white. One of them, okay, one is blue. It actually shows here as 2 because this one is. Sometimes you have one that's only dyed half of the string, so you end up with 7 and 1. We have sets of windings, which is the windings on this one is 7 windings, 8, 11, and 13. We have 5 different knots. Okay, actually there are 5 double knots. And that's the essence of the zitzit. So let's just put it on our belt loop and walk around Lowe's and see if somebody asks us what it is, and then we'll go, oh, the Bible talks about putting a blue thread on the corner of your garment, and you walk off, and that's it. Okay, why is this thing wound like this? What's the purpose? Okay, well, first of all, everything in Scripture has meaning, and we know that. Every number, every color. So white is the color of purity. Blue is the color of the sea, which would lead us to the color of the heavens. The knots, we have 5 knots. 5 is the number of grace. 5 is also the number of the books of the Torah. But for here, we're going to go with the number of grace. It's double knots, so we have double grace. The word tzitzit itself has a numeric value of 600. So 600 plus 8 strings plus 5 knots is 613, which is the number of commandments in the Torah. The numbers 7, 8, 11, and 13 equal in Gematria the sentence Yahweh Echad, or Adonai or Elohim is one, the Shema. Okay, so that's all in the midst of this. The blue is speaking of the heavens, as I said, or the one who came from the heavens. Go to the book of John, and we see that the Messiah comes from the heavens to intertwine himself in our lives. So if you take the blue thread out of the tzitzit, you take the tekelet out of the tzitzit, what do you have? You've got 7 strings that fall apart. So here's how it all comes together. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, who is one. He is pure and righteous in every manner, the white. Because of his grace, 5. A double portion of his grace, double knots, came from the heavens to intertwine his life within our life, holding our lives together and teaching us how to be holy and set apart as he is. Why the 4 corners? Why are we to put the tekelet on the 4 corners of our garment, on the 4 corners of our being? To teach us that this message of Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, who is one, coming from the heavens, intertwining himself in our lives, to hold our lives together, and to teach us how to be set apart as he is set apart, is not a message just for ourselves. It is a message that is to be taken to the 4 corners of the earth. This message, the tzitzit, is not only about us reminding ourselves. It's about us reminding ourselves that it's not about ourselves. In the end, this is just a few strings. In the end, this is just a piece of metal. Get the meaning? This wedding ring that I wear, hardly ever take it off, is about a covenant between me and my wife. An unbreakable covenant. This tzitzit that I wear is about a covenant between me and my Creator because of his grace, an unbreakable covenant. It's about trust. The whole Torah portion is about trust. If we cannot trust him in our present, we will continue to walk in fear of our future. Let's get over that. Put faith in him today, which will lead you to tomorrow. Shabbat Shalom, Shavua Tov. Have a blessed, prosperous week. Be'ezrat Hashem, God willing. See you again next week. By the way, next week I'll be at House of Scripture in Canton, Georgia. If you're anywhere around, go to my website. The information's on there. Until next week, be strong.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmarecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.